the past tense modifying form as well. So just before we were looking at the present tense noun modifying form, which is things that you are currently doing, the things you are currently interacting with. And this is this in noun form. And it's the past tense noun modifying form. Thank you. I appreciate that. So we have an example sentence here. The sushi I ate was expensive. 먹은 초밥이 비쌌어요. So we have 먹은. And the previous one, we could have something like this, right? 먹는 초밥. 초밥, by the way, is how you say sushi in Korean. So if you said 먹는 초밥, that is the sushi I am eating. I know, sushi is so expensive, right? You go to even if I go to the grocery store and get sushi, it's like $13 for sushi. But I guess it is all fresh fish, I suppose. Maybe that's expensive. Whereas this is 먹는 초밥, right? The sushi I am eating. But 먹은 초밥, this is the past tense, noun modifying form. So this is the sushi I ate. So if you're talking about sushi that you ate yesterday, you would say 먹은 초밥. For real though, yeah. Might be more worth your time. 먹는 초밥 is the sushi I am eating. 먹은 초밥 is the sushi I ate. And again, this conjugation is not the topic particle, right? It's not the topic particle. It is this noun modifying form that you attach to action verbs. Action verbs like 먹다 to eat, 읽다 to read, things like that. 듣다 to listen. You attach this noun modifying form to describe nouns that you are interacting with. Question, is it pronounced 먹은 or 먹은? So, good question. So it is pronounced 먹은. This is how you pronounce this. It's a rule in Korean that when you have a 받침, a bottom consonant, and an empty vowel starting the next syllable, this consonant moves up here and takes the place of this vowel. So it moves from here and goes up here when you're speaking, right? Only when you're speaking. It is still written like 먹은, but when you're speaking, these syllables kind of flow together and it's pronounced 먹은. Yeah, my brain ain't braining. The past tense noun modifying form is quite confusing. Yeah, it's interesting because it's just so different from English. Essentially in Korean, it's very simple once you kind of click with it. But because it's so different than English, it's like it feels backwards somehow. It can be quite difficult to get used to. But it is once you spend some time with it, it does get a little bit easier. And we'll do some more practice with it. This is where we're going to be practicing more about this past tense one. So the sentence here, 먹은 초밥이. So this is the sushi I ate, 비쌌어요, was expensive. Yeah, it's pronounced 먹은, and that's why. Because of this, I think it's called like consonant assimilation or something like that. I forget the technical term, but there is actually a sort of a formal rule about that you can always follow when you're pronouncing Korean words. 먹은 초밥이, the sushi I ate, 비쌌어요. It was expensive. Okay, so let's look at some more examples. We have here, if the verb stem, again of the action verb, if the verb stem ends in a vowel sound or lir, add nin. So notice how this is in brackets because if there's no 받침, you don't need it. For example, 사다 means to buy. So, 산 noun is the noun I bought. So like 산 옷 is like clothes that I bought. It sounds like Italian grammar. Well, then it should be easier for you, right? 산 옷 is clothes that I bought. Or 산, I don't know, pizza. The pizza that I bought, for example. So things you bought in the past tense. Another one, 보내다. 보내다 means to send, and it becomes 보낸 noun, the noun that I sent. 덥다, this one is an irregular verb, so it becomes 더운 noun. That one's a little tricky. And 만들다, if it ends in a lir, the nen replaces the lir. All right. So 만들다, it's this lir irregular. It's kind of another irregular verb. This nen takes the place and it becomes 만든 noun. So the noun I bought, the noun I sent, the noun I helped, or the noun I made. Versus if the verb stem ends on a consonant sound, you add un. So like that's like our 먹다 here, right? Becomes 먹은, the noun I ate. 받다 becomes 받은 noun, the noun I received. And 듣다 becomes 들은 noun. Again, 듣다 is a irregular verb, so that one's a little bit funky. 산 is mountain too. Yes, 산 is also mountain. You have to know in context, right, what's going on. Also confusingly, the verb 살다 means to live, but because of this lir irregular, 살다 also becomes 산. So 산 나라, the country I lived in, or 산 도시, the city I lived in. So the same syllable can appear from different circumstances, and you have to know what's going on in the rest of the sentence to figure out like which one it is. So even though it's conjugated the same way, it can be a different word. But that's the same in any language. Every language has these words that can mean multiple things or be conjugated multiple ways. It's just one of those things that exists, and it's tricky as you're a learner, but you do get sort of used to it the more comfortable you get. And again, that's different from the present tense, right? If you were currently buying clothes, this is clothes I bought. If you were currently buying clothes, it would be 사는 옷. The present tense modifying form is this 는 form. This is the past tense, the clothes I bought. This is the clothes I am buying. So again, it's a very simple difference. And actually, when you're listening to someone speak, you have to have quite a finely tuned ear to be able to tell which one they're saying. But usually from context, you can sort of figure it out as well. That context helps. But yeah, 받은 noun, the noun I received, 먹은 noun, the noun I ate, and 들은 noun, the noun I listened to. How does one pronounce 옷? It's like that, 옷. The tricky thing is, again, when you add particles, it can become slightly different. For example, if you're adding the subject particle, the shirt moves over and it's pronounced or she. If you're adding the object particle it's pronounced or she or sir. So if it's pronounced on its own, it's just 옷, but it can change its pronunciation depending on the particle that's used. So that makes it a little bit of an extra challenge. You can say 옷을. People would probably understand you, but it's a little bit awkward. It's natural to say 옷을 or 옷이. Like a T at the end. Yeah, it's kind of like a T at the end. But it's like, but it's not like ot. It's not like ot, it's like ot. It's kind of like a closed, I don't know exactly how to describe this sound. Yeah. Like a soft T. Ot. Yeah, kind of. Ot. 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 Again, I'm not a native speaker either, so my pronunciation is not perfect. You can definitely go and actually, a good little trick if you want to hear people pronounce words. You can also, you can put words into Google Translate or like bought. Yeah, like bought. It does actually sound quite a bit like bought. Or bought. Yeah, that's a good tip actually. But you can write words into like Papago or Google Translate and ask to do the text-to-speech option. And if you do the text-to-speech option, the person does speak with like kind of a robot voice, but they do the sound change rules and they can do all of this. So going into like a text-to-speech is quite good. But yeah, bought is a good analogy actually. At least for my English, I have like a British sort of style accent. If you're an American, bought, maybe it's not quite the same if you're like saying bought. But for me, bought sounds very similar with my accent. All right, let's look at this first example here. 읽은 책이 재미있었어요. 읽은 책. So what does this mean? 읽은 책. Does anyone have a guess what that would be? An 읽은 책. 읽은 책. The book I read was funny. Valacrom. Yeah, thank you. That's perfect. 읽은 책 is the book I read, and it's being described as 재미있었어요. 재미있다 is to read. And notice we have the past tense, right? Which is appropriate because we're talking about a book that we read in the past. And 읽은 책이 재미있었어요. The book I read was funny. It could be interesting, could be funny. Either one of those words. 읽은 책이 재미있었어요. And again, how you pronounce this one here, it also helps to know these sound change rules because when it becomes 읽은, this giuk moves up here and it's pronounced 읽은, like this. That's how it's pronounced. It's not pronounced 읽은 or anything weird like that. It's just all flows together. 읽은. 읽은 책. The book I read was interesting. What about this one? 간 파티가 어색했어요. All right. So what is this verb here? 간 파티. 간 파티. Party, you probably can guess it's a party. Party. What about this? A 간 파티. 간 파티. What might that mean in English? 가다. Yes, Safia. Beautiful. The party I went to. Yeah, perfect. The party I went to was something. You might not be familiar with this word. It's not a super common word, but it means to be awkward. To be awkward. So the party I went to was awkward. Now again, if you wanted to say the party that I'm going to is awkward, it would be 가는 파티. 가는 파티 is the party that I'm going to, but 간 파티 is the party I went to. So again, notice that little difference. Let's look a little bit further down here. Let's look at this one. 보낸 이메일이 중요해요. 보낸 이메일이 중요해요. So what is this verb, 보내다? 보내다 is a verb meaning something. 보내다. 보내다. Valicrum. Yeah. The email I sent. How you about? Perfect. The email I sent. 보낸 email is the the email I sent. Because it's a descriptive verb. 중요해요. 중요해요 means to be important. So the sentence means the email I sent is important. Notice how, just like in English, these tenses don't necessarily have to align, right? This is in present tense because the email you sent, it is still important now, right? It's still important now, which is why this is present tense. If you could also say 보낸 이메일이 중요했어요. It just means the email I sent was important. And just like in English, either of those sentences could be fine depending on the context. Let's look at this one as well. 받은 선물이 무거웠어요. 받은 선물. This means the present I received. 받다 is to receive. And again, because it ends on a 받침, this final consonant, we add un.
감자 좋아?
Yes, I like potatoes.
감자 안 좋아?
No, potatoes are good.
감자 cooking 있어요?
Okay, that's great. Okay.
Turn them off.
Huh? Whenever they're done, you can turn them off, but they're probably still cooking. Okay. My husband is asking cooking advice. Anyway, don't mind that. He is not Korean, as you can probably guess. 받은 선물 is the present I received. So, 받은 선물이 무거웠어요. This verb here, you may not recognize it super well, but it comes from the verb 무겁다, which means to be heavy. It means to be heavy, and it's a irregular verb, which means when it gets conjugated into the past tense, it becomes this, 무거웠어요. So the present I received was heavy. And again, sort of a final note about this grammar form is that it's not to be confused with the topic particle, right? It looks like it could be a topic particle, right? In and the previous page was 는, but it's not the same thing because it's being attached to a verb. And when it's attached to a verb, it's becoming this noun modifying form. It's not the topic particle. The topic particle is only ever attached to nouns. And that's sort of the key difference about the topic particle versus this noun modifying form.